You keep your house clean not for guests, not for Instagram. You do it because clutter feels like noise, and noise, you've learned, costs you something no one else seems to notice. Think about the last time someone left dishes in the sink. You didn't feel annoyed, you felt something closer to physical discomfort. That's not a personality flaw, that's a nervous system response. Your amygdala, the brain's threat detector, flags visual mess as unresolved business, and unresolved business keeps your cortisol elevated. A 2011 study from Princeton's Neuroscience Institute found that in a cluttered environment, the average person's ability to focus dropped by nearly 30%, not because they were lazy, because their brains had to work harder. For most people, that extra work is background noise. For you, it's a second full-time job. You're not cleaning because you love cleaning. You're cleaning because your brain refuses to stop noticing what's out of place. Dr. Sherry Borg Carter, who studies high-achieving introverts, calls this sensory overload by environment. She writes that for highly sensitive people, external order creates internal regulation. You're not making your bed for discipline, you're making your bed so your morning doesn't start with chaos. Now, here's what most self-help gurus get wrong. They say cleanliness is about habit stacking, morning routines, discipline hacks. But for you, cleaning is not a productivity tool. It's a permission slip to stop scanning. Researchers at UCLA filmed 32 families in their homes. The women who described their spaces as cluttered or unfinished had flatter diurnal cortisol slopes, meaning their stress hormones stayed high all day. The study didn't say messy people are lazy, it said some nervous systems cannot rest in visual unpredictability. You are one of those nervous systems. You've probably been called too much about your space. Why do you need everything in its place? It's not that serious. But here's the quiet truth they don't see. You grew up in environments you couldn't control. Loud, chaotic, emotionally unpredictable. And you learned earlier than you should have had to that controlling your physical space was the only control you had. Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, author of The Body Keeps the Score, writes that trauma survivors often hyper-organize their environments, not because they're rigid, but because predictability becomes safety. You're not cleaning your kitchen at 11 p.m. because you're a neat freak. You're cleaning it because an untidy counter feels like an unsolved problem, and your brain was trained to solve problems before anyone else noticed them. Let's talk about what happens when someone disrupts your system. A partner leaves a coat on a chair. A roommate doesn't wipe the counter. A child scatters toys. You feel that spike, that tightness behind your ribs. You might even hear a voice in your head. Why can't you just let it go? But letting go is not how your brain works. Your brain interprets visual disorder as interrupted closure, and interrupted closure triggers the same neural pathways as an unfinished conversation. You're not angry about the coat. You're unsettled because your environment is now asking you a question you didn't consent to answer. Now think about something smaller, even smaller than a coat. A drawer left open 3 inches, a cabinet door not fully closed, a pen lying across a notebook instead of beside it. You close it. You don't even think. Your hand moves before your mind does. That's not compulsion. That's pattern completion. Your brain sees an open loop, literally, and closes it automatically, the same way you'd hang up a phone call that was left off the hook. People who don't feel it will never understand it, but you don't need them to. Here's the reframe you've been waiting for. Your need for a clean house is not a quirk to fix. It's a valid neurological adaptation. You live in a world that overstimulates you constantly. Notifications, fluorescent lights, background chatter, demands. Your home is the one place you can edit the sensory input, and you edit it ruthlessly because no one else will protect your peace. That's not controlling, that's self-preserving. That's not anxious, that's intelligent boundary setting with your own environment. And yes, for some people, this need can tip into distress rather than relief. If that's you, what you're feeling is also real, and it's worth naming, not hiding. But for most of you listening, this is not a disorder, it's a strategy. A 2020 study in the Journal of Environmental Psychology found that people who described their homes as restorative had significantly lower perceived stress. What made a home restorative? Control over visual complexity, not square footage, not decor budget, the ability to say, this space reflects what I need to see, and nothing more. You've been doing that instinctively. Every time you clear a counter, close a cabinet, or straighten a stack of books, you are not performing tidiness, you are prescribing calm to your future self. Drop a comment if you've ever cleaned at midnight just to feel less anxious. You're not alone in this.